One more problem, then we're done with this lesson. Example 7. We want to determine the height of a California redwood tree. So I'm going to draw a really beautiful tree right here. Nice, big, pretty redwood. Now, I have 2 sightings from the ground. One of those sightings is 200 feet directly behind the other. And we know the angles of inclination up to the tree from each sighting were 45 and 30. So let's draw a flat ground here for our tree. And I know that my first sighting was 45 degrees. So there's my 45, 45, 90. And notice I tried to make the sides about the same length because the 45, 45, 90 is an isosceles. Now I go 200 feet behind that sighting. And I have another sighting that has an angle of 30 degrees. So that means this whole thing will be 60 degrees. So I kind of have 2 triangles here. Here I have my 45, 45, 90. Here, oh, go away. Here I have my 30, 60, 90. And I know only this distance. That's the only thing I know. Now the thing we're trying to find is the height of this redwood tree to the nearest foot. So the first thing I'm going to do is focus on my 45, 45, 90 and label everything I can about it. So first off, if this is H, then I know that this side will also be H because of the isosceles property of the 45, 45, 90. These 2 sides are going to be the same length. So I know this is H, this is H. Now let's look at our big 30, 60, 90. I know this angle is 30. I'm going to focus on that angle, which makes this side opposite that angle, and this whole side adjacent to that angle. So I think I have opposite here, I have adjacent here. What trig function uses those 2? Well, we know tangent does. So tangent of the angle I'm focusing on is the opposite side, which is my H, over the adjacent side, which is going to be 200 plus my H. So far, so good. So I have an equation here. However, I still can't really solve for H. But didn't we make a table earlier that tells us what tangent of 30 is? If you look back at that table, it told you that tangent of 30 is always going to be 1 over root 3. Always, always, always. Doesn't matter how big or small the triangle is, that will always be true. So now I have this equation, which I can solve. Here's where you might want to start using some of those Algebra 1050 skills. If I want to solve this equation, let's get rid of that denominator first. We don't like that. And I'm going to distribute that in. So 200 times 1 over root 3 is 200 over root 3 plus 1 over root 3 times h equals the h that's left over here. Now I want to solve for h, which means I should bring all my h's to the same side, since that is what I'm solving for. Now, since all my h's are on the same side, that means they all have an h in common that I can take out. And then I can divide by this. And my h is solved. So h is going to be 200 over root 3 all over 1 minus 1 over root 3. And we can just take that, type that into our calculator, and we're going to get, remember we're rounding to the nearest foot, about 273 feet tall. That is how tall this redwood is. So that is pretty much putting together everything we've learned today. We used both triangles, we used our table of values, and we used some 1050 algebra skills to solve it all out. You are officially done with lesson 1.2. You can get started on your assignment, and don't forget about your exam check.